Over the last 10 years, the Dodgers have become a model franchise. They've gone to the playoffs every year, and it's not just because they spend a lot of money. They also bring up good prospects and find cast-offs from other teams that turn into all-stars. It hasn't always been that way. Before 2013, this team was a mess, underperforming more often than not, and wasting tons of money. These are their worst contracts in recent memory. First, a few bad trades. Logan Forsythe was a very solid player in Tampa, so when the Dodgers picked him up for the 2017 season, it seemed like a good move. His average dropped 40 points, OPS dropped 100 points. He went from 20 homers in 2016 to only 6 in 2017. He got even worse in 2018, only hitting .207 with a .560 OPS. And at the trade deadline, the Dodgers sent him to Minnesota. The guy the Dodgers got back in that trade was Brian Dozier. With Minnesota, he was emerging as one of the best second basemen in baseball. He already wasn't having a good year in 2018 before the trade, and once he was on the Dodgers, he only hit .182 with an OPS of .650. They almost would have been better off keeping Logan Forsythe. Last one. Yu Darvish was the Dodgers' big deadline deal in 2017, and he was pretty good in his 9 regular season starts, posting a .344 ERA. He was also good in his first 2 playoff starts against Arizona and the Cubs, but he was absolutely devastating in the World Series, only getting 5 outs and giving up 4 earned runs in each of his 2 starts, really sicking the Dodgers before they could even get started. Maybe the Astros were cheating, maybe not, but it was bad either way. Number 6. Darren Dreifort. He was the number 2 overall pick in the 1993 draft, right after A-Rod, and he would be in the majors the next year. He came out of the bullpen until 1998, and he gave the team 3 decent seasons, an ERA of 4, .479, and .416, right around league average. After the 2000 season, the Dodgers gave him a 5-year, $55 million deal, and they didn't get much for it. He would get very familiar with the injured list, posting a .513 ERA in 16 starts in 2001 before needing elbow surgery, causing him to miss the entire 2002 season, and he would be plagued by the arm, the shoulder, the knee, and the hip, coming back in 2003 as a starter and posting a .403 ERA in 10 games. But team doctors said his injuries meant he could no longer start. He came out of the bullpen in 2004, appearing in 60 games and posting a .444 ERA, and after that, he was done. That 5-year deal turned into 2 partial seasons as a starter, 1 full season as a reliever, and his performance wasn't there. Number 5. Manny Ramirez. Manny Wood was quite the saga. Despite being productive, his antics had played him out of Boston in 2008, being traded to the Dodgers, and he was amazing. 53 games, .396 average, 17 homers, .1232 OPS. Those 53 games got him 4th place in the NL MVP race. I admit, I was at the games yelling at the field to sign him, and the Dodgers did. 2 years, $45 million. He was 36, but he was still one of baseball's best hitters. He was still excellent to start 2009, hitting .348 with .1133 OPS in his first 27 games. But then, he got suspended for 50 games for failing a PED test. He came back on July 3rd and he was still good, but nowhere near where he was since joining the Dodgers. He played 77 more games and hit .269 with an .881 OPS. He spent 2010 mostly injured, only playing 66 games but hitting .311 with a .915 OPS, and only playing in 7 games since the end of June. The Dodgers put him on waivers and the White Sox picked him up. The Dodgers didn't get anything for him, but the White Sox had to pay him the final $3.8 million on his deal. Between the injuries and suspension, Manny wasn't worth the $45 million over parts of 2 seasons. Number 4. Scott Kazmir. By the time the Dodgers signed him before the 2016 season, he had already been in the league for over a decade. He had bounced around teams, a career .396 ERA, but most importantly, coming off a .310 ERA in 2015. The Dodgers signed him for 3 years, $48 million, and it started out halfway decent. In 2016, he made 26 starts but had a below-average .456 ERA. Then in late August, he got pulled early because of an injury, came back a month later for 1 inning, but got pulled for an injury from that game also. His injuries really affected his velocity, and he just couldn't be effective. Because of that, he never made an appearance in 2017. After that season, the Dodgers traded him as part of a package to the Braves, getting back Matt Kemp. The Braves released him during spring training, and he wouldn't make it back to the majors until 2021. The Dodgers were able to avoid the last year of that deal, but for $32 million, all they got were those 26 substandard starts in 2016. Number 3. Jason Schmidt. For 6 years, the Dodgers had to put up with this guy in the Giants, a 3-time All-Star, finishing 2nd and 4th for the Cy Young, and in 2006, he had an All-Star season. At age 34, the Dodgers signed him to a 3-year, $47 million deal. He made 3 starts, but after giving up 5 runs in 2 innings, he was put in the DL because of an injured shoulder. He came back for 3 more starts, and in his last 2, he gave up 9 runs in 8 2/3. Once again, he was back on the DL, his shoulder way more damaged than they thought. He would miss the rest of 2007. They thought he may come back in 2008, but that didn't happen either, and he wasn't effective in spring training during 2009. He finally resurfaced after the All-Star break. He made 4 starts, had a .560 ERA, and once again landed back on the DL. This was the end of Schmidt's career. For those $47 million, the Dodgers got 10 starts, 43 1/3 innings, and a .602 ERA. Number 2, Andruw Jones. Maybe the Dodgers should have seen this coming. He had been great since he got called up in 1996, and in 2005 and 2006, he was amazing. Those 2 years, he combined for 92 homers, 128 and 129 RBI, average OPS over 900. But then there was 2007, the last year of his contract with the Braves. His average was down 40 points, OPS was down 170 points. He went from 41 homers to 26, but the Dodgers still wanted to give him $18.1 million a year for 2 years, and they paid the price. Apparently, Jones came to camp 20 pounds overweight, he was out of shape, and it was a disaster from the start. His average was below 200 all season. He started off in the middle of the order, but was quickly dropped down to the bottom. In late May, he landed on the DL for the first time in his career, and by late July, he lost his starting job. In September, he landed on the 60-day DL and was left off the playoff roster. He gave the Dodgers just 75 games, hit 158, 3 home runs and 14 RBI. With 1 year left on his deal, Jones said he didn't want to come back to the Dodgers and the fans never gave him a chance. As a season ticket holder in 2008, I think we put up with him for way too long. The Dodgers agreed to either trade or release him before the 2009 season, and in return, some of that $18 million left on his deal would be deferred. The Dodgers released him, and he was signed with the Rangers in 2009, playing much better in his 82 games, hitting 17 home runs and working his way back to a league average player. Number 1, Trevor Bauer. This one is different from the others. He was coming off a Cy Young Award in 2020. He was only 30 years old going into the 2021 season, and the Dodgers paid top dollar for one of baseball's top pitchers. 3 years, $102 million. Trevor Bauer is a Southern California kid, and he was coming home. In 17 starts, he tossed a league-leading 107 2/3 innings and 137 strikeouts, posting a .259 ERA. Then it all fell apart. Some teams were concerned with Bauer's personality, the things he was posting on social media, and even some accusations of harassment online. The Dodgers knew about this and signed him anyway, and they paid for it. On July 2nd, the league placed Bauer on administrative leave, investigating an accusation of sexual assault. The suspension kept being extended week by week. Then the league pushed it through the end of the 2021 season. In late April 2022, Rob Manfred said that Bauer would be suspended for 324 games, or 2 full seasons without pay. Bauer appealed, got his suspension down to 194 games, and he was reinstated as of December 2022. The Dodgers had to make a decision, reinstate him or release him, and after a lot of speculation, they chose to release him. His reinstatement left the Dodgers responsible for $22.5 million, and by releasing him, they ate the cash. In the end, they paid about $61 million for 17 starts. Those are the worst contracts in recent memory, but there are a few others that didn't make the cut. Brandon McCarthy signed a 4-year, $48 million deal before the 2015 season. He had just come off a great run with the Yankees, finishing the 2014 season with 14 starts and a .289 ERA, so the Dodgers took a chance on him. He started 4 games in April, posting a .587 ERA. Then he tore his UCL and his season was over. He was out for the first half of 2016 as well, making 9 starts with a .495 ERA. In 2017, he hurt his shoulder in the weight room. Then he had a case of the yips. That caused 2 stints on the DL, but he ended with a decent .398 ERA. Before the last year of that deal, he was traded to the Braves along with Scott Kazmir in that Matt Kemp deal. Darryl Strawberry is a throwback, signing a 5-year, $22.25 million deal before the 1991 season, and at first it seemed great. He hit 28 home runs, drove in 99, and had an .852 OPS. But between injuries and personal issues, including drug use, his career took a nosedive starting in 1992. He only played in 43 games that year, then 32 games in 1993, hitting 5 home runs each season. After he failed to show up for a game in 1994, the Dodgers released him. Finally, there's Noah Syndergaard. Given his injury history, it was kind of a risky signing. 1 year, $13 million, but in 2022, he was pretty solid. 24 starts, 3.94 ERA, splitting time between the Angels and the Phillies, and he was pretty solid in their World Series run. 8 1/3 innings and a 3.24 ERA. He's only 30, so the Dodgers took a chance, but it hasn't worked out. In 12 starts, he has a 7.16 ERA, and he just seems frustrated that he doesn't have the same stuff he used to. He's been on the IL since early June, and I don't know what the future holds for Syndergaard, but this season has been a pretty big disaster. That's all for this video. If you have anyone else that could have been on here, please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and want to see more content like this, please give me a sub. It's not just the Dodgers. I have a playlist with other teams and their bad contracts, so if you're interested, please check that out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.